It's the Jim and Terry Show without Jim in the hot seat. Weather permitting, he will join me this Thursday for a series of podcasts looking back over 2024 and ahead to 2025. In the meantime, stories of 2024, they dance in my head like sugar plum fairies from the Christmas season. But what stories in particular stand out for me? Well, it's disappointment in the mainstream media. Well, there will be some rolling of eyes and I told you so's from a few, maybe one or two of our ones and twos, about the mainstream media shortcomings. And yes, I'm becoming aware because of the failings of people that I had sort of invested as I trusted them as credible. Now, it doesn't mean that my disappointment comes from the loss of credibility. It comes from the actions of networks and hosts of news programs who did some things that I considered to be, well, out of character. And by out of character, I would sort of substitute this word, not positive, possibly negative, definitely raising one eyebrow in skepticism, causing me to wonder about what else they are going to do in 2025. So let's start off with one of my lead stories, which would be the story of Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough from MSNBC in the Morning Joe podcast hour. It's one that got me through the first term of the Trump administration when things were truly what the is going on here. They made a lot of sense. And Joe Scarborough, because he's a retired former Republican congressman, and Brzezinski, because her father had a Canadian connection, and I was particularly aware of that, like to celebrate that point of view that they both brought. And for Brzezinski, who empowers or looks at using her voice to empower women and has a number of initiatives to do just that, conferences that she sponsors, I thought it was a worthy of my time just to listen and tune in. Got me through the first Trump administration when we wondered what the is going on. Well, what did they do that got me, that pulled the rug out under my feet, was the rather secretive trip to, well, do I say secretive as a bad thing? Because even Trudeau went down and it was on the QT as well, all hush hush. So what's going on with the March of the Penguins? And I'm going to label it like that because really the March of the Penguins, you know, those tuxedo type look of penguins. So it's sort of the people of influence who are marching down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the what? No, the polite way is to say to kiss the ring. An implication that he is a monarch and you kiss the ring to remain in good favor, show your obedience to the authority. It's more like put your injected lips in suction cup fashion on his posterior region. Goodness knows there's enough of it to get hold of. And you see this in the people who are going to Mar-a-Lago. You know, besides each of them probably taking a box of top secret documents and piling them in Trump's washroom. A case which, you know, only in America can all this stuff be gathered, the evidence piled up, and the guilt implied without even a trial. He's guilty just on the surface of it, but he's getting away with it. Meanwhile, people like Brzezinski and Scarborough are going down. Is it to make nice with Trump? Kiss the ring, show that they are going to play ball. They've been critics, severe critics of Trump all these years. Trump has even made nasty, personal attacks on both of them. And that requires some explaining. Some splaining to do, Lucy. Desi Arnaz from the I Love Lucy show, splaining. Well, what is the explanation for going down as a news organization representing, well, their show, their brand, the Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough brand, which is full of vitriol and calling a spade where stuff doesn't make sense. They call it out. Where Trump is doing, what's the word he used? S-hole type stuff. Claiming everybody else is it. He's creating that in America. And by S-hole, we mean the behaviors that are money talks and criminals walk. The kind of thing where you can buy influence, you can peddle, you can get money from rich people to cover your legal costs. And that's what Trump has done with his golden sneakers, his non-fungible tokens, fundraising off of the poor who are led to believe that he is God's second son, the orange Jesus of the world. I don't know that that's what Mika and Joe were doing down in Mar-a-Lago, but I would not have expected them to darken the hallways of the washroom, let alone to have a conversation. That to me was just totally, I'm sorry guys, you lost me. And apparently not just me, but hundreds of thousands of other listeners, and their show is in danger now because people like myself will do what we can do, walk. We use our feet, and it's the same as when you don't like a job that you're in. Instead of complaining about it, you try to do change, you try your best to improve the conditions, but when you can't, use your feet and walk. Find other employment, find other sources of income, and you use your feet. And we say that as well for unions. When the talks break down, we use our feet. We walk. We walk the picket line. We protest. So how is going to Mar-a-Lago a form of protest? It's not. How is it going to accomplish anything good? You already know what this guy is all about. You've already had close encounters of the personal attack kind. I'd like just people to remember that Trump, judge him by his words and by his actions, not by things people say. Listen for yourself. And if you can tell me that you think he speaks highly of people, that he supports the common American, that he supports equal treatment, fair treatment for all, I would love to see what evidence you have to support that. Whereas those who are attacking Trump have all kinds of things, because Trump tweets daily on his, well, they call it truthing, Truth Social, his own personal brand of website. He says stuff that should be enough to convict him of all kinds of malicious, malign intent, and yet it doesn't. It just goes on. Oh, that's just Trump. Yeah, he's a funny guy. Yeah, right. He is a criminal, convicted criminal. All right, so Mika and Joe Brzezinski, that's one of them. The second one is ABC and George Stephanopoulos. Now, I have questions about George Stephanopoulos over his career, maybe some things that I'm not sure that he should have done. The car ride with Trump in the backseat of the limo, that one kind of was cringeworthy. I'm impressed that he was able to do that, but I'm not impressed at the outcome. The same as many anchors, news people, journalists who try to interview Trump, they let him get away with saying stuff because it's provably, demonstrably, measurably incoherent at best, bad in the middle, and at worst, outright lies. And we still accept it. I know people in my circle who still say, with Kayleigh McEnany, Trump doesn't lie. Trump doesn't lie. Maybe they missed all the rest of his life. Maybe they weren't following him as he did stuff like against the New York 5, when he didn't even care to hire or lease to black families in New York. I mean, some of the stuff, not paying his bills, bankruptcy 6 times. How come on? You still believe in this guy? Well, George Stephanopoulos added fuel to the fire when ABC kowtowed and paid a settlement in a lawsuit, libel. And the issue was the word rapist. And I know you have to be careful with that term. The legal term has a definition and an action that has to be proved. Well, the court in New York, the judge used digital penetration and said, by the standards of New York law, he is an adjudicated rapist. Now, George Stephanopoulos maybe got himself a little into the weeds by saying he is that, instead of saying the allegations and the court case was not criminal. It was civil. It was about libel, and it was about lying about E. Jean Carroll. He was convicted not once. He was convicted twice, and I believe there was a third round coming for that trial because he continues, he being Trump, continues to say stuff. It's taken a lot of self-restraint to use a euphemism instead of the S-H-T word. Yeah. So there you go. ABC settles for $15 million. Where does the money go? Well, I think it's, in fairness, it's going to a charity, if I'm not mistaken. But what charity? It can't be one of Trump's charities like Trump.org, his charity that was found to be in violation of New York state laws, and how they milked that charity for all the money that they had. It didn't go for Kids for Cancer or underprivileged kids. They took the money and ran. Nice to have a scam like that, and people don't care. He's still going to be the president on January the 20th. I don't know. The world doesn't make sense to me. In the next 4 years, it could be exciting in that we survive it. It could be exciting, and that actually gives me hope that people can control somebody who seems to be uncontrollable, that policy can make sense, even though everything I've read in Project 2025, you know, that thing that Trump denied ever knowing, and that Speaker of the House said that, don't worry about it, not going to happen. Well, they've embraced it all. So if you didn't read the 900 pages of Project 2025, you're in for a bit of a ride. I won't want to say, and I don't enjoy saying, I told you so. But when that goes down, be aware. Okay, Jim and Terry Show, looking back to disappointments in 2024 from the mainstream media. 2 stories that caught my eye. Mika Brzezinski, Joe Scarborough, a little disappointed. I've used my feet and I'm walking, not listening these days. ABC, George Stephanopoulos. What? Why did you settle? The law was on your side. Anyway, 15 million. What does it mean to Trump? Who cares? 2024. Goodbye.